Spirit podcast. Join John and Sue Cook for a gentle, conversational guide to your spiritual development. Together with their guests, John and Sue will share their experience and wisdom to bring you insight and empowerment on your spiritual journey. This is episode 9, Psychometry.
Hello, we're just going to talk a bit about ways of linking, and we're going to talk about psychometry. People who don't know what psychometry is have maybe never heard that phrase before. It's basically an object that you are given from the person you're going to read, and it can be a personal item of theirs, it can be a personal item of somebody who's passed the spirit that they maybe want you to try and connect to. You don't always connect to the person they want as regards the person in spirit. Sometimes you connect to the person who's giving it you, even though it belonged to somebody else. It's all about the ways of connecting to people. It can be any object. It can be any piece of jewellery, which seems to be the most common that people tend to do.
Well, yeah, if we're in a group setting, sometimes if somebody's not got an item of psychometry, they do just take a piece of jewellery off. We've got that lovely story about some lady that forgot to bring an item of psychometry.
Yeah, that was lovely. Yeah,
and she had a supermarket trolley token.
Yeah.
And we were on a workshop up in Cheshire, weren't we?
Yeah.
She apologised and we said, oh, it really doesn't matter. And the lady that had put it on the tray was really pleasantly surprised by the reading that she got from it. Riding roller coasters was her passion. The lady picked it up from the supermarket trolley that she'd been riding an old wooden roller coaster.
Yeah, she was
recently.
She was in a society going around riding different roller coasters.
All over the world, wasn't it? Psychometry, it's just putting your energy onto an object, and that object could be anything, and spirit know where it's come from, where it's going to, and what you want from that reading. It's just to show really how clever spirit are, that they can give you a message from just about anything, and we have over time used all sorts of different things.
Yeah, it reminds me of a flower service I did at a church. Reading flowers is another form of psychometry, because it's reading a flower that somebody's brought in. Very often a flower that may have grown in their garden. It could even be significant to them from the plant that it's come from, or some people just go and buy flowers specially for purpose. A lot of the people in the church at the time didn't probably realise it was a flower service. They thought it was a normal Monday afternoon service, and they was informed it was a flower service. So they went down the path of the church, and I think I had about 6 dandelions on there as I was pulling them out from the cobbles in the church, because that's any flowers they could find. It's a short notice. and it still worked just as well.
We've used real flowers. We've gone into our garden and picked real flowers. Our daughter has crocheted a beautiful bouquet of flowers, and we use those in the winter when you can't get fresh flowers.
And it's amazing how it works. It's not actually about the object always. Some objects are precious and they've got a lot of history because their family history, as in jewellery, as in random objects, because you used to have a pipe that belonged to your first husband who's in spirit now, and that worked as well.
Yeah.
And it can be something like that. But the fact is that spirit, as you've said, know exactly whose object belongs to who. And so they can give the one doing the reading the information for the one they're reading, because they know who you are reading.
From something that can be so random, and I've just remembered another little story. One of the retreats, somebody had put a handkerchief on the tray, and the lady that picked it up thought that there was something wrapped up in the handkerchief. When she'd picked it, she realised the item was just the handkerchief. But what she found herself doing was like making an origami shape out of the handkerchief into a flower, and that was very relevant to the lady who'd put it down, her grandfather bringing her a flower, because it was a grandfather's handkerchief. Another one that we use are ribbons, and we've got ribbons that you've had for years on an old pin, a variety of ribbons, every colour, texture. And that's great for when people are starting, because they've got something physical to hold and to rub your fingers down a ribbon and feel that texture. It takes the pressure off you.
And the colours, of course.
And the colours, of course, to use the colours.
With ribbons, the best way, if you want to put a psychic tool together, if you go down the market where there's anybody selling material or ribbons, just ask them if they've got any offcuts of roughly the same length of different colours, and you could build yourself your own psychic tool, your own bunch of ribbons, and you just put a pin in to hold them together. I think we've got a brooch.
Yes, somebody that used to come to Circle gave us a brooch that meant something to them.
Yeah, so
to hold it.
So that's another way of putting a very simple spiritual tool together that you could use to do readings with, and all you do, you ask somebody to choose out of, you need about 30 or 40 different ribbons of different colours. You can have more if you want, the more the better sometimes, but get somebody to pick 2 or 3 ribbons, and then you just read the ribbons they pick regarding the colours, regarding the texture, as you said, if you see any blemishes in the ribbons, because over time blemishes appear, and you could do a very good reading from a ribbon. We've used crystals.
We've used crystals.
Pebbles.
When we've been to retreats and we're at the seaside, it's wonderful to collect pebbles from the beach. In the past, we've always collected them and then got people to choose one of them as their pebble. But I think in future, because we're going to be so close to the sea now, we're going to get people to choose their own.
Choose their own pebble and maybe write something on it so they can recognise it in case somebody picks a similar one.
And you don't actually have to have a physical object to do psychometry. When we were at our circle the other night, we had a lady who was new to circle. We did an exercise where we asked her to imagine a flower. That worked very, very well. The flower that she chose was a daisy. Although she was very new to working with spirit, she felt that she had a young person with her that was telling her about. And it wasn't one daisy. She said she saw one in her mind's eye, and then there were lots and lots. And the lady that she was reading used to make daisy chains with her friend when they were younger. And sadly, she passed to spirit when they were only 17.
Yeah.
The information that she got, not even having a physical item.
Yeah, but once you start speaking, once you start working, the nervousness disappears.
Yes.
And it's just about trusting in what you get. And when we're talking about what we get, we perhaps ought to explain that, because when we talk about mind's eye, it's basically imagination. It's what you see in your mind, and we all have imagination. We all see things in our mind. If somebody mentioned an object to you, you would instantly see that object in your mind if it wasn't there, if you wasn't actually physically looking at it, if I wasn't pointing it out to you, if I was saying, could you imagine a table? Instantly you will see a table of some description, because as soon as you put something into your mind like that, you do. But then it's not just the table, because we start off with a table by saying, can you see a table? It's then you might all of a sudden start seeing words or patterns or something on the table, which would then become the message. But then you can ask to see other things. You can ask to see if there's anything actually on the table, and instantly if there's something significant it would appear on the table. You can ask to see if there's any people there that may be people either in spirit or on the earth is significant to that person that you're reading, and you'll know the difference, because if you ask them if they're in spirit or on the earth, they'll give you a feeling either way. And so there's lots of things you can continue to develop from that, and any questions that you want to ask, you can even ask what the occasion is, why
if
these
it's
people
a celebration round the table, if it's the memory of sitting at a table alone writing letters or whatever.
There's so many variations, and the more questions you ask, the more in-depth your readings will become. The more information that you ask for, the more information you'll be able to give to the person. And of course the table is always about sitting around and talking, because that's what we do. We eat or we talk at the table, which is kind of like a bit like the round table, I suppose.
Coming together round a table.
Which is a circle, which is basically what we do. It's a great starting place for giving communication In other words, talking.
Yeah.
And all you're doing is talking to the spirit person, the person on the earth who's also a spirit person, because we're all spirits, aren't we?
Yeah.
We've all got spirits, our life force is a spirit. Communicating with yourselves. This is the thing, because objects, psychometry, what we've just been talking about, a lot of people would call that a psychic tool, because it's an object that you're using and it's not connecting to spirit. But I disagree, because I believe that everything you get in that way connects to spirit. Because as Sue said, how would you get information from a crystal that's got nothing to do with the actual crystal? How would you get feelings and emotions unless spirit were helping and guiding you and showing you, letting you know what to say?
Absolutely.
So I believe everything is spiritual. I don't believe the psychic. There's nothing wrong with the word psychic. It just doesn't necessarily explain things in the way people do try to explain it. I believe everything's spiritual. And it's just about feeling it's right, because you're building up a story. Because a reading is really a story. So you start off with the basics, beginnings of the story, and then you elaborate and you move forward. And at first, I know that would be difficult, because you'd be unsure what you're getting is right, and so you would perhaps back away and not want to go too deep. But if you find out that the first bits of information are correct, then the confidence grows, and then you will start to delve more into it. And this is what it's all about. It's about experience and confidence as you move forward.
And telling a good story based on all the facts that are coming through.
Yeah, and that's what that's all about. Was also talking about when you look at the object as a physical object, not one in your mind's eye. That is more the psychometry. If you was to, because somebody was saying about scrying.
Yeah.
And scrying is when you either do, it's a bit like psychic writing or something, or just looking at water coming down a panel or a mirror, and it's about movement. Scrying's more about movement, whereas when you look at an object, it's stationary.
Yeah.
And scrying's about watching the movement. I suppose scrying would be watching a candle as well. Watching the actual movement of the candle, watching it develop, watching it change shape, without you having any actual power over it, and seeing the pictures that you see developing. Because if you do look at a candle, or you do put water down a smooth surface, or watch a waterfall, if you study it, you will see shapes and you'll see different things appear, maybe even faces. Because if you look into a mirror and you look at your own face, if you look hard enough, your face will change. And that's transfiguration, actually, but that's a different thing again. But that's another podcast. If anybody listening wants to try this, just get somebody who, obviously, don't pick on a stranger, because they might not want you to do that, and ask them to just give you an object or pick a ribbon or something and just see what you get from it. But don't forget that your feelings are just as important as what you see. It's what you see in your mind, what you feel, and what words pop into your head. And
I think your feelings are more important. I think we've said so many times, if you can bring emotions through, that's more important than facts.
Yeah, it is, but at the same time you need a bit of both. I did a reading the other day and I'd got somebody's daughter, and straight away I got the word conflict, and it turns out that this person was having conflict with the daughter at the time. So that word just popped into my head at the right time, because he's got more than one daughter, this particular person. So it was just that particular daughter I was mentioning. I just felt the conflict and just had the word jump into my head. So spirit can do so many amazing things, and it's always right. And it's just got to work with it. And I know some people, especially when they first start, they go, I've got nothing. That's a common thing.
Yes.
I've got nothing because my mind's gone blank. But they don't realise that nothing, or a blank mind, is actually part of the reading.
Because it can be.
Yes. It can be, because it means that person's struggling. They're struggling to understand the way forward, so they've got nothing at the moment. Or it can be lots of different versions of that. Spirit will tell you the right one. You'll come out with the right version. every time.
So it's just trusting what is coming through, even if it feels like nothing. There is always a message.
Always a message.
Nothing's random. Nothing's a coincidence. Spirit are far too clever for that.
Yeah.
It's us sometimes that gets mixed up with the message. But
Yeah.
if we ask more questions of Spirit, we will get there, because it's the message that's important. If we're going to link with our loved ones, they will want to give us the love and guidance that they always gave us when they were here. And it's up to us to choose if we listen or not. But that's what they will want to come through.
It is incredible. And you might think, if you haven't done anything like this, that this is sounding a bit weird and a bit strange and a bit too off the wall. But I would recommend that you give it a go. I would recommend, especially if you can find a group that would help you to do it, but I would recommend that you give it a go, because it will absolutely blow you away and change your life when you realise that Spirit can connect, and they can connect in such wonderful, amazing ways.
And they do,
And they
constantly.
And you can read anything if Spirit want you to do that, because they can find enough information about any object but they can give you the emotion to put you on the right track, and the pictures in your mind, which, like I said, is imagination, but we call it clairvoyance. It's all about...
If there's a message, they will get it through one way or another. And there's no coincidences. No. I've just been reminded, when you did one of your stand-up shows, you've done it more than once. You've said to somebody, oh, can I go to the lady in, for example, the white jumper? And somebody's put the hand up and you've gone, oh, but you weren't coming in that jumper. You got changed just before you came.
Yeah.
And Spirit know, that somebody's changed their mind before they've come and they've changed. But so Spirit are with you a lot of the time that you don't think about. And it's just those little instances, how you couldn't possibly have known that somebody had changed the jumper before they came. No. But it's just to let you know that Spirit are with us and they know what we're doing.
With spiritual work, it's just amazing. When we're doing circles and workshops and retreats or any kind of teaching,
the simpler the better, really.
The simpler the better. And
we try and simplify it. We don't overcomplicate things. I stressed a few times the other night, it wasn't what they were imagining as in that flower. It was what they were feeling as Spirit was coming through.
Yeah.
And it just took the pressure off them.
Yeah.
But the information comes through just the same, because Spirit know where we are, what we need, and that's what you get.
Yeah, I mean, it's same as colour. Colours bring up imagination, they bring up memories, because we deal with colour every single day, and certain colours give us certain feelings. So feelings are associated with colours. Sometimes smells are associated with colours, because we know people that an aroma that comes with a colour. Because if you buy a candle, it's always a colour, and it's often got a scented candle. So you've got the flame, you've got the scent, and you've got the colour of the candle, and so all those things blend, and it'll make you feel a certain way. Because most candles, when they say the scent, they'll give you a scent that's actually an emotion, like calming. When you buy the different candles, they're supposed to start an emotion going.
Yeah.
Calming you or de-stressing you or whatever it is. And like the some, you can get the tobacco flavoured, and those would remind you of people years ago smoked cigars, and it can take you to another plane.
Spirit, what they do, they use all of our senses, and all of our senses are very closely linked, aren't they?
Yeah.
Our sense of smell, taste, different things. It's using everything that we know, everything that we use in our everyday life. Spirit use to bring through those emotions, don't they?
Yeah, and it is quite incredible when you think about it, because you have an object or you have a colour or anything like that. We've even done drawings where people have done random drawings, and you don't have to be an artist. But it's what the person reading, what they get from that. It's just incredible when they think, I'm coming out with some right random stuff here. I'm talking about, I'm seeing red, so straight away I'm seeing a fire engine, or I'm seeing something that's red. And well, that's not going to make any sense at all. because it's just something I'm seeing randomly. And then when they explain what they've seen, and the person who's reading it explains to them the significance of it, that is when it becomes so mind-blowing, and it happens every time, because it always is the right things that you've said.
Just going back over what we've said, it just takes the pressure off you. It is still linking to spirit. It's still important. But what you're not concentrating on is the spirit person that's giving you the information. You're just going with the flow of what they're putting into your mind, what you're hearing them say, and the feelings that come through, and how emotional that can be when you get the feelings. And you can get them from just imagining a flower and then what else that brings up for you. And it's just trusting spirit, but in a way that isn't putting the pressure on. And when you're new to this, you don't want any pressure because you're nervous enough anyway sometimes. There are so many different ways that spirit can come through, and it's a very interesting way of doing it. Rather than describing who you've got in spirit, is just by concentrating on an item.
Yeah, and the main reason we do that is because people are quite nervous at first about linking to spirit, because it's such a massive undertaking, and a lot of people, when they first start, they are, even though they've had spiritual experiences, they're a little bit nervous about that, because they think, how am I going to connect? Whereas if you distract them with an object and they focus on the object, they don't actually realise that they're connecting to spirit. They think they're just describing an object or talking about an object, but they actually are connecting to spirit. And the way you do it, if you've got an object and you want to try it for yourself, if somebody will give you an object, I've just been given a crystal. It's just, first of all, the first thing I would say is when you hold it, actually, it's a green crystal. I think it's an agate.
A moss agate of some kind, I'm not sure
possibly.
what.
Anyway,
yeah.
The first thing I'm picking up is the smoothness of it. You do feel the texture of the object that you're given. Also, if you've got any emotions, because even though you may have emotions before you pick up the object, once you start working with anything spiritual, everything you're picking up then is a clue. It's all to do with the message. So if you're feeling anxiety, then that's part of the message, and you give that to the reader. There's a bit of anxiety around you. If you're feeling calm, which I actually am, to be fair, I'm feeling quite calm at the moment. So I would say to the person that it's a period of calm at this moment in time. Of course, emotions change, a bit like your aura changes, and so it can be one thing 1 minute, a different feeling another. But it's where you feel at that time. And another thing I'm getting is that I've got this in my right hand, and my right hand is suddenly starting to cramp up a little bit, feel a bit stiff. So I do feel that somebody's had trouble with the circulation, because that would link to a circulational problem or to an imbalance, which I kind of know that's probably correct, but I'm just getting this cramping feeling at the moment. So there'd be feelings of pins and needles and a bit of cramping within the joints, which is what I'm getting at this moment in time. The green is an interesting, because it's not just green actually. There's a lot of there is blue.
Of levels.
There is blue. It's actually a very interesting crystal as I look at it. There's circles in there, and I know circles are important. It feels like there's two. So there's two. Well, it looks like there's two separate circles, but I don't see them as circles as in sitting in circle. I see it as people, and I feel that both of these are significant people in spirit, actually connected to this person, connecting to two significant people on the earth. I can see that one's more defined, and I see that as more aged, if you want. So I see that as somebody who's been in spirit a lot longer than the other one. So I feel one must be going back in time, and one is more recent, but both equally significant. The other thing I'm feeling as I hold it and I look at it is, like I said, the colour green to me, and everybody's got their own interpretation of colours, and I always tell people to go with your own interpretation. Green to me is always about new beginnings, but this one feels more about healing, because it's a darker green. It's an intense green. It's not really a new beginning, it's a continuation of a new beginning. It's like we're so far through, because it's blending down. And so it's everything that you pick up about that. And about now I'm seeing some grey. On the side there's like a slate coloured grey. I know where the slate colour could fit, but slate to me, it's neither blue and white. And white's about love, and blue's about healing. So I know that there's a lot of healing going within the love with this person. When I say healing, it's about acceptance. It's about actually acceptance in its own way is an healing. Because once you accept situations, you can deal with them much better. And I'm getting that that's what's happening at the moment. Acceptance of situations. Not negative, not positive, just reality and just as it is. And it's about grounding. And when I say grounding, I mean things being as they should be. Things in the reality rather than in the sort of imagination or in the expectation. It's more about an acceptance of the reality, an acceptance of where you are and who you are.
To me, it's all the greens of a forest. It could almost be the lichen on the trees, the moss, all those sorts of colours. And our friend who's with us, who chose this, I do know how important being outdoors and being in nature is to him, and this is an absolute reflection of that.
Yeah.
Can I just say, just to explain, this is a very small little crystal. It has got all the colours that John said, but you couldn't have got all of that information from holding this pebble if Spirit hadn't been giving that information to you. It takes your mind off what you're doing and it just gives you a focus to hold, and this is a very tactile little object, so I think there is no way that you could have got that information from this. And that's the same as lots of things that we do in psychometry. We've just had some feedback on that reading, which, no surprise, was right. The information that you got, seeing the two people in spirit.
Some of what you got as well.
And the links to nature, some of which I knew, but I didn't know that our friend's late wife was very immersed in nature as well. Yeah. So it's just proof that the information that comes through, you couldn't have just got from holding the crystal. It is definitely that link with spirit and allowing that link to come through whilst you're holding an object that is just giving you a focus.
So for now, that's a goodbye from us, but keep smiling.
Yeah, and sending our love out to whoever needs it, wherever.
We'll speak to you soon.
You've been listening to Exploring Spirit with John and Sue Cook. John and Sue are always happy to hear from old friends and new listeners alike. You can reach them via their website at johncookmedium.co.uk or on their Facebook page, John Cook Medium. We thank Vitaly Vakulenko for the rights to use his music via Pixabay.